Jnanatimirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajaka Stotra Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Welcome. Kendra has sent a message. Welcome everyone to the Thursday night reading and discussion of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So yes, welcome to everyone. Thank you all for coming. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And welcome to Madan Mohan Mohini Dasi, who's here, and Govinda. And let's see who else may come. This is Adi Leela 1-7. Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbhodashai Chapayobti Shai Sheshaschayasyang Kala Sanitya Nandakya Rama Sharanam Mamastu. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sheshanag, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are his plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions. Mayatite vyapi vaikuntaloke purnaishvarye Sri Chaturvyuha madhye rupam yasyo bhati sankarshanakyam tam Sri Nityananda Ramam prapadye. Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradumna, and Aniruddha. I see. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan in the midst of the Chaturvyuha. He possesses full opulences, and resides in Vaikuntha-loka, far beyond the material creation. Maya Bharta Janda Sanghashrayanga Shete Sakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yasyai Kangsha Sri Puman Adi Devas Tang Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation called Karnodakshayi Vishnu, lying on the Karna ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy, and the shelter of all the universes. Yasyang Shangsha Srila Garbhodashayi Yannabhyabjam Lokasankhato Nalam Lokashrashtu Sutika Tamatatus Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. Yasyang Shang Shang Sha Paratma Kilanam Yasyang Shang Shang Sha. My goodness.
Hard one.
Yasyang Shang Sha Srila Garbhodashayi Yanabhyajam Lokasankhata Nalam Lokashrashtu Sutika Tamatatus Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. Okay, we read that. Now we come to Yasyang Shang Shang Sha Paratma Kilanam Poshta Vishnur Bhati Dugdhabdi Shahi Kshoni Partayat Kala Sopyanantas Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshay Vishnu is the supersoul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanaga is his further subpart. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Datati Shapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Svavatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Puruna Sindho Deen Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These invocatory verses in Sanskrit will be all explained in the course of the chapter, coming chapters really. For now, they're just presented without comment. In this Chaitanya Charitamrta, Kaviraj Goswami basically writing in Bengali, but he is an expert in composition of Sanskrit verses. So and he later apologizes. He says, I use some Sanskrit, but when I use it, I explain it. Because he's trying to reach a Bengali-speaking audience, but he's not a stranger to Sanskrit composition by any means. He's expert. So here he's offered obeisances to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and now he'll proceed to Advaita Prabhu. Mahavishnur Jagat Karta Mayaya Yasrajat Yadaha Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Charja Isharaha. Lord Advaita Charja is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Harinadvaitad Acharyam Bhakti Sangshanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaita Charjam Ashraye. Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse one time on a walk in Mayapur when I asked him a question about the nature of the spirit. Well, I asked him a question about the apparent perception that the spiritual master sometimes makes mistakes. And in that connection, he quoted this verse that Acharjam Bhakti Sankshanat. He's called Acharya because he teaches bhakti. He said, we have to see that, not that the spiritual master is a magician and we have to expect some magic, but we have to see how the spiritual master is teaching the conclusions of Bhakti Yoga. That's the function of the Acharya. Acharjam Bhakti Sankshanat. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita, and because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore, I take shelter of him. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sharupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarvashva Padam Pojo Radha Madana Mohano. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Divyad Vrindaranya Kopa Drumadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshtali Bhi Sevyamano Smarami. In the Temple of Jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desire tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambhi Vangshi Vata Tatastitaha Karshan Venu Shanayar Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha. Sri Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore of Vangshivata and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra. And glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. 18 Thakur Gaudiya Karyachen Atmasat, 18 Choran Bandon Tine Mor Nat. These three deities of Vrindavan, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Purport. The author of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta offers his respectful obeisances unto the three deities of Vrindavan, named Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Radha Govinda Dev, and Sri Radha Gopinath Ji. These three deities are the life and soul of the Bengali Vaishnavas, or Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who have a natural aptitude for residing in Vrindavan. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who follow strictly in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, worship the divinity by chanting transcendental sounds, meant to develop a sense of one's transcendental relationship with the Supreme Lord, a reciprocation of mellows, rasas, of mutual affection, and ultimately the achievement of the desired success in loving service. So Sambandha Abhideya Prayoja. The establishing a relationship, then dealings in that relationship, and the perfection of love. These three deities are worshipped in three different stages of one's development. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu scrupulously follow these principles of approach. The Sahajas don't. They want to jump to the stage of loving dealings. But the followers, strict followers of Lord Chaitanya, follow these principles. At first, we approach Madan Mohan, we establish a relationship, we come to know what our relationship with, what is our relationship with this material world? What is our relationship with the personality of Godhead? What is the personality of Godhead's relationship with this world? This is Sambandha Gyan. So everything has to, the Abhideya, Pradyumna Prabhu was explaining this in a talk on Prabhupada's appearance day, that the means to the goal, Abhideya, can be taken to mean the means to get there. So that means is performed, or should be performed, on the basis of Sambandha Gyan, because we have to, they're not unrelated practices. They're not just things that we do like kirtan. It's not just kirtan's a great fun thing that we do, but it's meant to be part of the devotional process. It's a bhakti-anga, a limb. So the part has meaning within the context of the whole. And the whole is established on the basis of Sambandha Gyan. So we have to start with that, knowing what our relationship is. The relationship basically is that I'm a servant. So the chanting, the hearing, the remembering, all the other activities, they have meaning on the basis of that fundamental understanding that I'm the servant of Krishna. That's my relationship. Not that it's for my enjoyment, but it's for service of Krishna. So Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, the perfection. Prabhupada was explaining these three principles, or three stages, one time in a meeting with the editors of Back to Godhead in 1968. And he said, the first thing is Sambandha, to awaken someone. Everyone is sleeping under the influence of Maya. So the first thing is to awaken someone. That's Sambandha, for him to understand that he's not this body, that he's a servant of Krishna. Then the second stage, Abhideya, someone comes forward, Swamiji, please instruct me, please initiate me. So this is Abhideya. And the third stage, Prayojana, Prabhupada said, always absorbed in thinking of Krishna. That's Prayojana. Gaudiya Vaishnavas perceive the ultimate objective in Vedic hymns composed of 18 transcendental letters that adore Krishna as Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopijana Vallabha. Madan Mohan, so that means Gayatri Mantra. All this discussion concerning Gayatri Mantra. Madan Mohan is he who charms Cupid, the god of love. Govinda is he who pleases the senses and the cows. And Gopijana Vallabha is the transcendental lover of the gopis. Krishna himself is called Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopijana Vallabha, and countless other names as he plays in his different pastimes with his devotees. The three deities, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopijana Vallabha, have very specific qualities. Worship of Madan Mohan is on the platform of reestablishing our forgotten relationship with the personality of Godhead. In the material world, we are presently in utter ignorance of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Pango, Jayatam Sudata Pango. Pango refers to one who cannot move independently by his own strength. And Manda Mate is one who is less intelligent because he's too absorbed in materialistic activities. It is best for such persons not to aspire for success in fruitive activities or mental speculation, but instead simply to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of life is simply to surrender to the Supreme. In the beginning of our spiritual life, we must therefore worship Madan Mohan so that he may attract us and nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. If we're still absorbed in sense gratification, then what kind of dealings will we have in Avideya? The Prabhupada, the dealings of Radha Krishna and so on, they're on that Avideya platform. So devotional service means Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Yesham Tvantagatam Papam. We have to be freed from the gross contaminations of the material energy, which come about by thinking I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. And the main actor there is Madan, material attraction for sense gratification, sex and others. So as long as we're attracted by Madan, then how will we advance in spiritual life? So Krishna is Madan Mohan. He bewilders Madan. He's the attractor of Cupid. So one has to become attracted to Madan Mohan. In the beginning of our spiritual life, we must therefore worship Madan Mohan so that he may attract us and nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. This relationship with Madan Mohan is necessary for neophyte devotees. When one wishes to render service to the Lord with strong attachment, one worships Govinda on the platform of transcendental service. We establish a relationship with Krishna, and by following the guidance of the spiritual master, then we come to the stage of strong attachment for serving. The sadhus don't come to that platform of transcendental attachment for serving. They still have the attachment for sense gratification. And so they want to use the framework of bhakti yoga for sense gratification. So that's rejected. Govinda is the reservoir of all pleasures. When, by the grace of Krishna and the devotees, one reaches perfection in devotional service, he can appreciate Krishna as Gopijana Vallabha, the pleasure deity of the damsels of Braja. Now, let me just, there's some way that my screen automatically gets changed to full screen and then I can't see what's going on in the chat box. Okay, we're good, I think. Yeah, okay. Right. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this mode of devotional service in 3 stages, and therefore these worshipable deities were installed in Vrindavan by different Goswamis. They are very dear to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas there, who visit the temples at least once a day. Besides the temples of these 3 deities, many other temples have been established in Vrindavan, such as the temple of Radha Damodar, of Jiva Goswami, the temple of Sham Sundar, of Shamananda Goswami, the temple of Gokulananda, of Lokanath Goswami, and the temple of Radha Raman of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. There are 7 principal temples over 400 years old that are the most important of the 5,000 temples now existing in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada's writing this, of course, as a longtime resident of Vrindavan. Of course, an eternal resident of Vrindavan, but a longtime resident of Vrindavan and Uttar Pradesh. He retired from family life and was living in the, first in one temple, then another, came to Radha Damodar. So and in the quiet, relatively quiet village that Vrindavan used to be, these were the main things going on. The saintly Vaishnavas would be engaged in going to the different temples of Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopinath, Radha Raman, Radha Damodar, and being engaged in different activities of bhajan. Still, these things are going on very seriously, but it's a little harder to see what's going on there. The atmosphere has changed over the years. But this is the real business of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, to be engaged in pure devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada is writing as a person who's retired from family life, retired from business, retired from everything, and has come to Vrindavan to engage in service to his spiritual master, especially by writing books. So, and this Chaitanya Caritamrta, as far as I know, must have been written in Vrindavan, these early chapters. As we mentioned, he wrote the early chapters before he came to the West. So he may have written what we're reading now while residing in the place that he's writing about, Sri Vrindavan Dham. Gaudiya indicates the part of India between the southern side of the Himalayan mountains and the northern part of the Vindhya hills, which is called Aryavarta, or the land of the Aryans. This portion of India is divided into 5 parts, or provinces, Panchagauda Desh: Sarashata, Kashmir and Punjab; Kanyakubja, Uttar Pradesh, including the modern city of Lucknow; Madhya Gauda, Madhya Pradesh; Maithila, Bihar and part of Bengal; and Utkal, part of Bengal and the whole of Orissa. So this is Panchagauda. Bengal is sometimes called Gauda Desh, partly because it forms a portion of Maithila, and partly because the capital of the Hindu king Raj Lakshman Sen was known as Gauda. This old capital later came to be known as Gaudapur and gradually Mayapur. The devotees of Orissa are called Gaudiyas. The devotees of Bengal are called Gaudiyas. And the devotees of southern India are known as Dravida devotees. As there are 5 provinces in Aryavarta, so Dakshinatya, southern India, is also divided into 5 provinces, which are called Panchadravida. The 4 Vaishnavacharyas, who are the great authorities of the 4 Vaishnava disciplic successions, as well as Sripad Shankaracharya of the Mayavad school, appeared in the Panchadravida provinces. Among the 4 Vaishnavacharyas, who are all accepted by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Sri Ramanujacharya appeared in the southern part of Andhra Pradesh at Mahabhutapuri. Sri Madhvacharya appeared at Pajakam, near Vimanagiri in the district of Mangalore. Sri Vishnu Swami appeared at Pandya, and Sri Nimbarka appeared at Munger Patana in the extreme south. So these four stalwart acharyas, as well as Shankaracharya, all appeared in Dakshinatya, southern India, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the north. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the chain of disciplic succession from Madhva Acharya, but the Vaishnavas in his line do not accept the Tattvavadis, who also claim to belong to the Madhva Sampradaya. And we'll read more about that in Madhya Lila especially. To distinguish themselves clearly from the Tattvavadi branch of Madhva's descendants, the Vaishnavas of Bengal prefer to call themselves Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Madhva Acharya is also known as Sri Gauda Purnananda, and therefore the name Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is quite suitable for the disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, accepted initiation in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. All right. Are there any comments or questions here? Now, I see. Okay. So we can continue. When we read these Bengali verses, sometimes we're reminded of Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, who used to chant them in a particular tune. Grantera Arambhe Kori Mangala Charan Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smaran. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. So Kaviraj Goswami now is explaining what he's been doing. We find this in Chaitanya Caritamrta, that he presents something, especially in Sanskrit, and then he unpacks it. He explains, this is what I was doing here. In the beginning of this narration, I've remembered the spiritual master, the devotees, the personality of Godhead, and I've invoked their benedictions. Tinera smarane hoy vigna vinashan anayase hoy nija vanchita puran. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Vigna vinasham, destruction of all obstacles. The materialists generally worship Ganesh for destruction of all obstacles, or the Vaishnavas worship Lord Nrsingadev for destruction of obstacles. And here, by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees, and the Lord, one overcomes all obstacles. And Nija Vanchita Puran, one's desires are completely fulfilled. She Mangala Charan Hoy Trividha prakar vastu nirdesha ashirvad namaskar. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So Kaviraj Goswami has offered his, or composed this Mangalacharan, this auspicious invocation, and now he's analyzing that this is what a Mangalacharan should have. The objective is what's the point? What do we want to achieve here? What's the purpose of this book? So the objective, and then offering benedictions and offering obeisances. Pratama dvishloke ishta deva namaskar samanya vishesha rupe dvita prakar. The first two verses offer respectful obeisances, generally and specifically, to the Lord, who is the object of worship. Tritiya shlokete kori Vashtura nirdesh shahahete jani para tatvera udesh. In the third verse, I indicate the absolute truth, who is the ultimate substance. With such a description, one can visualize the supreme truth. Chaturta shlokete kori jagate ashirvad sarvatra magiye Krishna Caitanya prasad. In the fourth verse, I have invoked the benediction of the Lord upon all the world, praying to Lord Caitanya for his mercy upon all. Shloke kohi bhayava tara karan pansha shashta shloke kohi mula prayojan. In that verse, I've also explained the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's incarnation. But in the fifth and sixth verses, I've explained the prime reason for his advent. Now, there's something. It seems that when the screen is shared, my chat box disappears, but here we are. Okay. How to understand, Venkatesh says, the difference between the three sets of deities mentioned in these prayers, as they're all Radha Krishna. Yes, Prabhupada makes that point, that they're all Radha Krishna. Govinda, Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopinath, Radha Ramana, Radha Shamsundar, they're all Radha Krishna. So then we say, well, what's the difference between Radha Krishna and Radha Krishna? They're all the same person. But then the Krishna does, just as he takes different forms, he appears as a fish and performs the pastime of rescuing the Vedas. He appears as a tortoise and supports the churning of the milk ocean. He appears as Nrsingadev and destroys Hiranyakashipu. So he appears as Krishna. But even as Krishna, he appears in these different forms. Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopinath. So what's the difference? There's no difference. What is that? Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Even all these forms like Nrsinga and Varaha and Matsya, Kurma. There's no difference. They're all Krishna. And Krishna is absolute. But in these different forms, he performs different functions, different kinds of pastimes, and reciprocates with his devotees in different ways. So when we see Govinda, Gopinath, they appear to be the same person, but they're understood differently and they're approached differently. Yes. So the Madan Mohan is understood to be the form of Krishna for the who what shall we say, attracts the beginning devotee. And Govinda is approached for actual service. And Gopinath is the worshipped on the perfectional stage. In one sense, it's a question of consciousness. Even like our Radha Krishna deities in our temples, Prabhupada said, we're worshiping them as Lakshmi Narayan. Now, you don't see Lakshmi Narayan. Lakshmi Narayan have 4 arms, and they're, all different in their outward bodily features. Yet Prabhupada said that Lakshmi Narayan are included in Radha Krishna. Everyone's included in Radha Krishna. So we're worshiping Radha Krishna, but we're approaching them as one approaches Lakshmi Narayan. Lakshmi Narayan are worshipped with great awe and veneration, great respect. And we need to do that. They're worshipped with great opulence. We have silver and we have gold and we have elaborate dresses and decoration and all of that, and very formal offerings done exactly on schedule and in a particular way. So this is Vaikuntha worship. This is worship of Lakshmi Narayan. Or more explicitly, the Lakshmi Narayan portion of Radha Krishna, who are included in Radha Krishna. But why are we doing that? Because we're contaminated by the material energy, and we first need to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The advanced devotees, they can be very, they can scold their deities, they can have all sorts, they can lie down in front of the deity, they can disregard the regulative principles because they're on the spontaneous stage of perfect devotional service. If we try that, we become sahajas. We become cheap devotees. So we're trained by the spiritual master. Now you first approach very carefully the Lakshmi Narayan, in the Lakshmi Narayan mood. And still they're Radha Krishna. We'll see Radha Krishna, we'll be attracted to Radha Krishna, but we're cautioned that you worship this Radha Krishna in the mood of serving Lakshmi Narayan. And then you'll gradually be purified and advance. And in the mature stage, everything will be there. But if we try to jump to the mature stage or pretend that we're on the mature stage, then we invite disaster. So first we're trained Lakshmi Narayan, or as in this context here, first approach Krishna as Madan Mohan. You may approach the Madan Mohan deity explicitly in Vrindavan, or we approach our Radha Krishna deity in our temple in that mood, Jayatam Sudato Pangur Mama Mandamatir. That I'm a lame man. A lame man needs help. He's got to have a stick or someone's shoulder to lean on or something, because he can't walk on his own. And Mandagate, It's, Prabhupada said, less intelligent because attracted to material enjoyment. But Matsarvasha Padambojo, I'm surrendering and accepting Krishna as everything. So this is the mood of the worshipper of Madan Mohan. So our deity may be Radha Govinda, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Radha Rasabi Hariji, whoever. But in the beginning, our mood is that we approach Krishna as Madan Mohan. Even suppose we're in Bombay, so Radha Rasa Vihariji are there, but we're not thinking that I'm qualified to enter into Krishna's dealings in the rasa dance. No, first I have to become purified. Antakatam Papa. Then, in the mature stage, everything will be there. So first, Madan Mohan, then Govinda Dev. Yes, I strongly want to render service. Anyavilashita Shunyam Gyana Karamajana. Then in the mature stage, he's Sriman Rasa Rasarambi. Is that okay, Venkatesh? I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Well, we have a few minutes more. Well, we can read on, I guess.
I have a question.
Oh, you have Mama Dasi.
Yeah, when we see that line being crossed, where devotees are getting too familiar with their deities.
When we see that line being crossed, devotees are becoming too familiar with their
even
deities.
with their own home deities. And what I see is instead of the senior devotees taking a position of trying to offer some guidance or correction, you would think their gurus might do that, but apparently that doesn't happen. But what I see is they get a lot of encouragement. Instead, it's just because every little baby step should be encouraged, that's kind of the attitude. And so even when you see things that are just even blatantly over that line, I just see the people who did it just getting all this praise and encouragement. So it's hard to, it's kind of a fine line. You don't want to discourage people, but you also, are we just going to throw out everything that we were taught, because we don't want to discourage somebody?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, were you able to hear that question? Or I'll repeat it in any case.
I heard it. I don't know about everyone else.
Okay, I see a thumbs up from Haridas. Okay, so you heard the question. Yeah, I have also become uncomfortable when I see these things, that devotees are assuming a sort of spontaneity that's appropriate for the highly advanced devotees when they're clearly not there. And of course, as you say, it's for their spiritual master to guide them, and we're not the spiritual masters, so we have to be a little aware of that. And of course, according to our relationship with the person, we can offer our thoughts. Some people, they don't care what you think, and there's no point saying anything. And others may have regard for your thoughts, and you could say something. And of course, it's also there that we're looking for some what shall we say? We don't want to be just dry followers of rules and regulations, and just doing rituals without feeling. The feeling is the essential thing. Devotion. Devotion means there should be some feeling. In the beginning, there's no feeling. Guru Maharaj said to do this. All right, we'll do it. Then we hope there'll be some feeling also, and we don't want to discourage people that that's all sentiment. Just do the rituals, and yet we don't want to encourage people in imagining that they're in some world that they're not really in, because then they're not on a strong platform. One has to know the science. That was Prabhupada's statement. One has to know the science. And that applies in everything, the deity worship, in the kirtan, in the the literature we read and the way we read it. I see people reading literature that I don't even feel qualified to touch the cover. And yet they're imbibing in. The artwork that we surround ourselves with. I see in a lot of temples these days, and Radharani's painting of Radha and Krishna with some gopis. And even Srila Narayan Maharaj began objecting that this quite confidential painting is being displayed in every marketplace. It's not such an ordinary thing. I was in the, we had a change of management at Brooklyn, and a change of people at every level. So I was staying in one of the rooms in the Brahmacharya ashram, and sort of left over from previously, there was a picture of Durga Devi, a picture of quite a what should we say, risque sort of picture of Radha and Krishna, and this big painting of done by Jadharani. And what were these people thinking? And these were kind of like devotees who were on the payroll, that kind of situation, probably from India. So Prabhupada, what was his direction for what should be in our temples? Lord Vishnu in the causal ocean. What else was there? I'm trying to remember. Krishna instructing Arjuna. Like that, quite, and Radha Krishna were there, but not, the Rasa dance and Radha Krishna and the Kunjas of Vrindavan, and, because we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, so this is our treasure. Well, we don't put our treasure on display like that. These things are a little confidential, and they're meant for the advanced devotees, not that we and the advanced devotees, that may not be us. So we go with these things, the high-level bhajans and the high-level pictures and the intimate, assuming an intimate connection with the deity, and it's just of spontaneous, that's belongs to the spontaneous level. Kirtan, where we're all in ecstasy, but we don't, and then we go out and have karmi food and talk about sports or what have you. So we need to, it's a science. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas worship these three deities progressively, Madan Mohan, then Govinda, and Gopinath. So it will help us to understand where we are, will help us, and to act from where we are will help us. So these were, and we don't have to be, what's the word, intimidated or feel that, well, you guys, you're just doing the, you're still in the Sambandha, where, how long are you going to be there? Well, maybe we'll be there our whole life, but as long as we're there, we're going to stay there. We're not going to pretend that we're in prayojan, that we're, after, in the evenings, we're just going to absorb ourselves in bhakti ras, meaning Sriman Rasa Rasarambi. We may not be there. And those who are there don't make a show of it. So these things should be carefully thought about. And at the same time, we don't want to discourage people. And Prabhupada, you couldn't always predict that what Prabhupada would say. So sometimes it would be, so, who are you? And sometimes it would be, oh, very nice. So we need to be careful also and not think that we know everything about what people should be doing, and we know everyone's, we know where they all are, what level they're on. But we need to be a little careful also. But generally speaking, that guidance should be there, that we tend toward the lower platform. We tend toward the lower platform because when we accept the lower position, we get mercy from above. If we assume the higher position, then we don't need so much, we don't need help with, obviously we don't need help with our ABCs because we're already, writing poetry. Sometimes that happens, in studies, you sort of skip some of the easy stuff, and then later you're in trouble because you don't have the basics, right? Like in learning languages, that can happen, or in math, or anything. You sort of cooking, whatever, you sort of fudge your basics, and then when it comes to the advanced stage, you're in trouble because you're missing the fundamentals. I remember one of the few things that I really sort of took to in school was typing. My handwriting was abominable, and I knew that if I was going to go to college or I was going to do anything, I'd need to learn how to type. So we took the typing class. And the typing teacher always emphasized to us that first go for accuracy and then go for speed. If you start with speed, your fingers will fall all over one another. You won't be able to, you may get some initial speed, but you'll make errors all over the place and you won't really be able to go further. But if you develop accuracy, then, there's sort of really no limit to how fast you can go, other than, how fast a finger can move. I was it Socharja, who was like 90 words a minute or something over there at the PPT. Her hands were a blur above the keyboard. But you can go that fast if you've got accuracy. And if you didn't learn accuracy, you can't really go fast. So if we really want to achieve these more advanced levels, if we want to advance in Abhideya, if we want to achieve Prayojan, then so carefully we have to understand our relationship with Krishna, Sambandha Gyan, and purify our hearts and act in that relationship. Yes.
But as a movement, I think of how after Lord Chaitanya left, and then gradually there was degradation and Sahajiya, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and lifted it up, and Prabhupada delivered that purely, and it seems like what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
If I put the things that are going on now.
In every department, so many things can come. And therefore, it's the duty of Prabhupada's disciples and the temple presidents of GBC men, senior devotees, to see to the standards that Srila Prabhupada gave us. As you know, I'm writing a book on kirtan standards, because we go all over the place. We get inspired, and then anything goes. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be inspired, but we're not supposed to be anything goes. We just go into ecstasy or you get creative. So it's there in the kirtan, it's there in the cooking. Sometimes people get inspired, and I was at some feast the other day. They made some like nectar drink with yogurt, blueberries, pineapple.
Oh.
They just
Bitter.
yeah, it's that's not what you do. But I'm sorry, I can't talk to you now. I'll have to get back to him.
That's kind of thing's been going on for years, but what really made such a huge impression on me last summer was seeing pictures of this huge building in Germany, in a city, and
Could you
this painter,
write him and say 5 minutes or so?
an initiated devotee in ISKCON, a painter, had made a painting of Radha and Krishna that covered one side of this building, and it was very intimate.
Mm-hmm.
Radharani's feet were showing.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Radharani was sitting in Krishna's lap.
Mm-hmm.
Her teeth were showing. It was like, and it's like that, it reflects badly on Prabhupada's movement.
Yeah.
That's what
Prabhupada said this is, that's one of the jobs of the GBC, to keep see that the standards are kept.
But he just got so much praise, and even his own guru just gave him a lot of praise. Isn't ISKCON?
What can they do?
Will see Radha
What can you
Krishna, they'll be enlivened. There's introduction to Krishna consciousness, and I think what's difficult is that even you try to just even gently, carefully explain.
You can't say
These are
anything.
Prabhupada taught us like this.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it.
No, you
Or
get
they
jumped
give
on.
some excuse why they can't, or they just won't, or they refuse. It's like, what are we doing here?
And it's
It's
just
very difficult, very difficult.
It's not, I feel like it's not my job. It's the GBC's job.
Yeah.
What can I do?
What can we do? We're just little devotees, and it's sort of rolling on that this is what it is. This is
Yeah.
Krishna consciousness. So on the one side, we don't want to discourage people, but on the other side, there's a science here. What was I thinking of? So who was it? Bhima Karma, I think, was telling me about a Mridanga teacher, and it like had the student playing kitata for like 20 years or something, till he got it right, till he really got it. So we want to accelerate. And sometimes it's just like, someone who has a car and he just wants to accelerate. And it's so exciting to accelerate. But, the best drivers are not the ones who, let go of the wheel and close their eyes and do fancy tricks. But, you stop at the stop sign, and you go when it's green, and you keep your hands on the wheel, and you know how to drive. Driving is not an exhibitionist sport. This is of course now going to be quite the discussion, and unfortunately we're at 8:10, and I'm a little strict about trying to end on time. We're quite a bit over time now, but these are things that we can think about and discuss more as we go along. But those who know have the responsibility to try to keep the standard as far as possible and train others as far as others are willing to be trained. And with that, we'll thank you all and head on to other things like rest or what have you. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Naranga, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Second chair.
Oh, no, no.
Krishna Maharaj, all goes Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Next week I'll be in better internet land, Krishna Arjuna, and we can talk. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Haribol. Haribol.
Yeah.